Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher 4, and CD Project Red in general, honestly. People are very split. There is a lot of fear currently happening, and there is a lot of hope because maybe a miracle happens and all of the things that they are going to do is going to be good. Now, personally, I have kind of given up hope on The Witcher 4 being good because the release trailer told me everything I need to know, okay? And I did not want to know those things. And now we have a big leak for Cyberpunk Project Orion, which is gonna be the continuation of Cyberpunk 2077. And, well, let's see. Let's hope that it's good.
Cyberpunk 2077 Project Orion just got some pretty big news. We have a new leak from Mike Pondsmith himself that just revealed some details regarding the setting and location for the next game. And Toto, I have a feeling we are not in Night City anymore, and according to Mike Pondsmith, that is the case. But what is this new setting? Where are we going for Cyberpunk Project Orion?
A lot of speculation is about the moon. Night City is not the only city that's left in the Cyberpunk universe, by the way.
We're going to talk about that and so much more, guys. Check the video chapters for easy viewing, and let's get started. All right, let's just go ahead and jump into the news. According to Mike Pondsmith, the creator of Cyberpunk, like he was the creator of the tabletop RPG, well, Mike was on the Digital Dragons conference for 2025, and he revealed a ton of information regarding the Cyberpunk sequel that I don't think was supposed to get out there, but regardless, we have news regarding the Cyberpunk sequel. So according to CD Action, the website, they reported on it, and they
By the way, the chances that Cyberpunk is going to be good are relatively high, honestly, unlike The Witcher. Because when it comes to The Witcher, CDPR Red can do whatever the hell they please. There's effectively no limitations to what they can do. But with Cyberpunk and all that they do with it, Mike Pondsmith has the last say. He never he has never given up his say, okay? If he feels like something, that's happening because he has the last say. He has the ability to pull the plug on anything if he deems it necessary.
said the creator of
And that guy, I don't know if you have seen him, but that guy he actually has a surprisingly super high level of integrity, especially when it comes to his actual stuff that he does seemingly, at least from what I have seen, which is very cool, very fresh, especially nowadays. And well, I kind of think that does give us a reasonable amount of hope. Now, obviously, he's more interested in actually developing the Cyberpunk universe than checking everything that CDPR does actually do in the game. But, you know, he is probably, at this point at least, it looks like, he's not going to just allow CDPR to completely Californiarize this IP.
Cyberpunk confirms the new city in the continuation of Cyberpunk 2077. Fan theories may be true. So they started off the article by saying the first information about the continuation of Cyberpunk 2077 first appeared during an interview with Mike Pondsmith on the TV Gry channel. Mike Pondsmith talked about his involvement in the game with CD Projekt Red and about the cities that the players will be able to explore. So the whole quote that Mike Pondsmith said, he said, "There is another city we visit with Cyberpunk Project Orion. Night City is still there. I remember looking at them and thinking, yes, I understand the climate you're aiming for. You don't feel Blade Runner here. It's more like Chicago that went the wrong way." Now, the article then mentions these words seem to
I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny implying Chicago has ever went the right way, but you know, that's okay.
confirm fan theories suggesting that Orion will be unfolded in 2080 in Chicago. They then reference a piece of advertisement on the Cyberpunk 2077 game where it says travel from Chicago to Night City in under 3 hours, worry free, coming in 2080. Now the article then continues on saying this is very fresh information provided during the Krakow Digital Dragons. At the end, Mike Pondsmith jokingly summed it up the interview with the words, "I don't know when to shut up." The article concluded by them saying it has already been known that Orion is to be a deep-rooted production in American realities, and it's also being developed in the CD Projekt Red studio in Boston. And so far we've known little about Orion, but Pondsmith threw in
Yeah, the words Boston don't sound good, but hey, it's technically better than Quebec, Canada. But you know, it's like, hey, here's the choice between hellhole and slightly less hellhole, but still very much hellhole. Yeah, it's not exactly the things that people want to hear.
New light on the project. Now, another thing that's worth mentioning in the interview, and this was spotted by Insider Gaming, and they said Pondsmith in the interview was asked if he was directly involved with the sequel, Project Orion, as he was with Cyberpunk 2077. He replied not as involved directly, but he gets to see the scripts, interact with different departments working on the game, check out the new cyberware and more. He also spends a lot of time with the environment guys for the Cyberpunk 2077 sequel, and that's where the new city comes in. So to kind of dive into the setting itself, they said that this location will be a Chicago gone wrong setting, not directly Chicago. So if you're expecting Cyberpunk 2077 to take place in 2080 in Chicago, that might not be happening. Now, the references in game is pretty cool. I just don't think that's the case. Now, with the game taking place in 2080, it's still possible that we play as V, since there's only like a 4-year gap between the first game and the second game, but that's obviously not definitive. So before, from the developers, we knew
It's probably not gonna happen because I don't think this is gonna be a situation where you can load in your character from the last playthrough and you know just start from that point. I really doubt that they're gonna do this Mass Effect type of stuff. So it's probably not gonna be V.
knew that the game would have a more American flair because they are developing it in Boston in the United States. But now that we know that it's gonna feel like a Chicago setting that's gone wrong is like really exciting for me. Does it mean that the entire
No. Honestly, I think Cyberpunk has always been done in America because only in America you can uh, see an ambulance come near you and then they scan you and they understand, oh wait, this guy's poor, and then they don't take you. Okay? That's pretty distinctively American.
area is going to be like Dogtown, but like way worse? You know how Dogtown has like a setting that doesn't really feel like it's corporate, honestly almost like a Gotham City type vibe, where like, yeah, there's some order, but it's not like the order that we expect with a corporate setting that has NCPD that's constantly like patrolling the area and maintaining the law and order. Like, it seems like they're going more for the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Like, it will be a futuristic city, but it's not going to look as clean as a futuristic city. It's going to look like a really torn down, broken, battered, and just beat location. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some areas inside of the new city that will feel really nice and corporate, but overall the city will be in a pretty bad state, which I'm really curious to see what they mean by that. Like, are we talking it's going to look like more Judge Dredd with like the mega city where there is a lot of like trash and just bad locations and bad people? Or are they going to go more for like the dog
That would be pretty based and funny.
town vibe that's just scaled up? In my opinion, I think that it should be a mix of both. Like, obviously I want some areas that look really clean and corporate, but I also want like the bad areas to feel really bad as well. Like, I want these places to look trashy, so when the bullets start raining down, it's gonna feel a lot more immersive, which I don't think we're gonna have any problems when it comes to Cyberpunk being immersive. Like, Cyberpunk 2077 was probably one of the most immersive games I've played, so yeah, not really concerned about that. But my question that I really want to know is whether or not the location will indeed be Chicago, or will it be named something different. Now, we actually have a lot of information regarding Chicago in Cyberpunk lore. Chicago was founded by John Baptiste in 1833, first as a town. Now, in 2012, Chicago was severely impacted during the collapse, particularly in its early stages. Now, following the collapse, the majority of Chicago lays in ruins, with an estimated 90% of the city abandoned, and the once thriving metropolis was reduced to a mere shadow of its former self, overrun by algae and overgrowth. Now, the wiki then said in 2077, Chicago is implied to have undergone some level of reconstruction. As mentioned, is made of connecting Chicago with Night City using the transcontinental maglev network, and the loop is a part of downtown Chicago that is encircled by the elevated train tracks that run above the streets. Now, some of the key locations that are featured in Chicago, we have Emerald City, which is underneath downtown. There are several underground streets which traverse almost the entirety of the loop area, and they said the Emerald City gets its name from the various green fluorescent lights that illuminate the streets underground at all hours of the day. Now, the wiki then mentions Newtown, which is located on North Rush Street. It was once an upscale residential area and then run into the ground after the collapse, but it's been fairly cleaned up now. Single-story homes are commonplace, with lawns turned into small vegetable gardens. And then they mention Old Town.
Lawns turned into vegetable gardens? That doesn't sound cyberpunky.
which is located on the tip of North Well Street. They said this 2-block stretch, like Newtown, looks like its name suggests. It was once a residential area that is now filled with 2-story brownstone apartment buildings. Mixed in are also the strangest collection of businesses to ever grace one street. But those are just a few of the locations as confirmed by the Cyberpunk wiki. But there really is a ton of locations that they could choose from in terms of like where they're going to have the setting. Obviously, it'll likely be in the United States because like they deliberately moved their studio over to Boston so they're able to truly study the region and understand what America looks like. So yeah, that's why they're
That is so stupid, okay? This was probably some good moving to Boston was some probably kind of Vanguard or BlackRock deal that they had to go through to not shut down, and that's pretty much it, okay? It is hilarious.
they're doing it in Boston. Now, there is also the possibility that they actually choose Boston as the location. We know that Massachusetts is in the Cyberpunk lore. It is a state within the USA. We know that there is a Boston Metroplex in the Cyberpunk lore, so perhaps the reason that they decided to put their studio in Boston was so that they could literally have the game set in Boston, which honestly, that would be pretty wild. Although
That sounds honestly stupid, I'm not gonna lie, okay? Moving to Boston to make your game in Boston, okay? They just sprinkle a bunch of fentanyl addicts and there you go. Complete immersion.
I just don't know if they would do that. I've never been to Boston, but I have been to Chicago, and I really like Chicago, so I actually live in Illinois. So yeah, having a game that's set in Illinois and Chicago would be absolutely wild to me, but again, it's hard saying. All we know, according to Mike Pondsmith, is that it's going to be in a new city, and the location will feel like a Chicago that has gone wrong. Now that we know that Cyberpunk is going to be featuring a new
Chicago gone wrong.
location, the question that I want to know is whether or not the game will be a direct sequel to Cyberpunk 2077, or do they plan on taking this game into a completely new direction with a new cast of characters, a new main character, and an all new
I mean, I don't really understand the discussion that a lot of people have between I want to keep playing as the old character versus the new character. If you like the game for its story, then you should kind of be okay, obviously, with playing a new character. If you didn't give a shit about the story but cared more about just doing stuff in the world, then you also don't care. I I don't know. I don't really understand people who say, "Oh, I want to continue playing as that character." Is it because you invested time and you want to play the character that you made? Maybe, but that's kind of so limiting. And this can never happen, by the way, just purely from game development point, I guess we should call it. I'm not sure how we should call it, but that seems good enough. And that is because, well, Cyberpunk 2077, Red Engine. Cyberpunk Orion, Unreal Engine 5. And it's not going to be compatible, okay? They can't really remake the same. It would take just so long, so much time and effort, so much waste, honestly, to try and remake Cyberpunk 2077 in Unreal Engine 5 just so you can use the base stuff from the game there. It just seems like a hustle. It's like you take a game, remake it in Unreal 5 for no reason, and then you need to work in advance on that. It just doesn't make sense. It will never happen. You're gonna be playing a new character, and I think honestly that's fine.
new location. Will they use V? Like, is V going to be traveling from Night City to the Chicago area that was referenced in the game? They said that you could travel from Chicago to Night City in under 3 hours in 2080. So I would say if Chicago specifically is the location that we will be going to with
I honestly think it's more like, hey, you will have like a mission or something that takes you to Night City, and it's gonna be like a scripted event, so you can be like, "Yay, I'm back!" I think that would be at least kind of cool.
the new game, then I have a feeling that V will return. Like, it's also 2080, so like the time gap between 2077 and 2080 isn't that much. Like, I'm kind of picturing it like this. You remember the first reveal that we got for Cyberpunk? Not the one from like 2013, but the one with V on the train and it just looks at Night City. Like, I picture that, but V on the train going from Night City, and he's going to Chicago, and he's arriving on the train, and then like the next game reveal starts in the exact same way. way. Like, that would be absolutely wild to me. Now, I think given all of the multiple endings that were featured in Cyberpunk 2077, I think having V travel from one area and then go into a new location would be pretty interesting. But I think if it is a direct sequel, then they're gonna have to like pick a canon ending technically. Now, I guess multiple of the endings could work with this new setting, but I wouldn't want it to cheapen some of the endings of the first game. So that's why I almost feel like having a new main character would probably be the easiest and best way to do things. Now, when it comes to the Cyberpunk 2077 Project Orion reveal, that is the big question that we all want to know. Obviously, development is still in pre-production. I believe they actually just started the pre-production phase. So yeah, we still have multiple years to wait before we get to play the new Cyberpunk game. Now, one thing that is
so much hot taking problems, okay? A lot of things. Well, the Cyberpunk 77 expansion is still on the table. Again, the more time passes, the more likely it is to happen, I guess. But, you know, we're gonna see. Anyway, that was West Nemo 10 out of 10. Bye.